Will the mighty Trojans overcome the adversity they're facing this year and beat the Golden Domers in South Bend? Or do the Fighting Irish win another one to remain ranked in the top 15? Hang tight, I'll tell you. What is up, college football fans and fellow members of Mountaineer Nation? This is Couz, and welcome to another edition of Couz's Corner, your go-to sports channel with a heavy dose of West Virginia Mountaineers. Before I break down the USC Notre Dame game, I want to ask that you please press that red subscribe button for me and smash that like button for me. Give me that thumbs up if you don't mind. And heck, at the end, if you don't like my content, give me the thumbs down button. That's okay too. Let's get on with the show. Notre Dame's favored in this game by 7. The game's at South Bend, but they're playing a team in USC who's actually 2-0 on the road this year and 1-3 at home. There's some speculation as to why they're playing better on the road, and that's, they're under a lot of pressure at home. They're going through a coaching change. They have an interim coach. They've been getting booed by their own fans. However, they're not going into just any environment. It's South Bend, and it's against Notre Dame, a top 15 ranked team. Now, when you look at these two teams statistically, neither one of them blow you away, really. They're both middle of the pack or even lower on the defensive side of the ball. Notre Dame is about the same on the offensive side of the ball. USC, a little better offensively. I think they're a top 30 team offensively. But coming into the season, they were expected to be even better than that. They had several guys that were expected to be NFL draft picks. A lot of those guys have just not performed up to that standard. They do have one receiver, Drake London, who's caught 64 passes for 833 yards and 5 touchdowns. He's really been their star this year. Quarterback Keaton Slovis, I hope I pronounced his name right, is completing 64% of his passes, 1,519 yards and 9 touchdowns, but he has thrown 4 interceptions. Now, one of the reasons for the interceptions, some of the local beat writers for the cover USC are saying that the receivers just aren't, other than London, have just not performed up to par. They're not getting open. It's not really helping Slovis have anywhere to throw the football, so it's hurt his numbers this year. So I don't know if it's as much an indictment on him as it is on the help around him. He came in his freshman year completing over 70% of his passes, but he had 3 wide receivers that 2 of which are now playing in the NFL. So, and 1 is on an NFL practice squad. So 3 NFL level players at wide receiver position, in addition to London, who was a freshman that year as well. So he basically had 4 NFL caliber wide receivers to throw the ball to. This year he's really only got the 1. The talent around him has declined, which we all know the quarterback's got to have some help. No, but conversely, Notre Dame's defense won't blow you away statistically, but they will turn you over. They forced 15 turnovers on the year. They have a defensive back named Kyle Hamilton who has 3 interceptions and 4 pass breakups on the year. He's also second on the team in tackles. So he's been their best performer on the year on defense. But they're only A6 nationally in passing defense. So this might be the one area where USC could potentially exploit them, would be with London if he can make some plays down the field. Notre Dame's 5-1 on the year, and they've won, I know, with at least 2 games on last-second field goals. They've played a lot of very close games. And, they're just they find ways to win football games despite the statistics. They just find ways to win. They don't beat themselves often. They're well coached by Brian Kelly. Conversely, USC's with an interim coach with no head coaching experience. Clay Helton was not bringing the best out of the players either, so they've just been struggling in that department. I just don't think the coaching has matched up to the level of talent at USC. And they also lack some depth, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They have very little depth on defense, so their starters aren't getting a lot of rest. And I think they're giving up over 400 yards a game on defense, so their defense is a sieve. But, Notre Dame's offense isn't letting the world on fire either. They're one of the worst rushing teams in the country. They're having quarterback problems. Jack Couz started the year out, the starter. He's been benched. They've been playing Button or some. They've got another backup they've been playing some. Can't remember his name off the top of my head. But, they basically played 3 quarterbacks this year, trying to find the right answer. And so far they've not been able to. Notre Dame's offensive line is struggling. So I look for this to be a low-scoring affair, to be honest with you. I think the over-under on the game is around 56.5 or 57. And I expect the game to be probably in the high to mid-20s. Maybe might see Notre Dame creep into the low 30s if they're able to get a couple turnovers. But my prediction for the game is Notre Dame winning the game I do think they'll cover the spread, but barely. I think it'll be a 7 to 10 point game. So I'm picking Notre Dame 31-24 to win the game. It's at home. I think USC finally loses a game on the road, but I don't think it's going to be an easy one. I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any stretch of the imagination, because I do think USC's offense does have enough talent to hang in there with Notre Dame. And to be honest, the only reason I'm picking Notre Dame is because USC has a tendency to shoot themselves in the foot and beat themselves. For example, the Oregon game, which they were favored in by double digits and ended up losing by even more than they were favored, they had 11 penalties and 4 turnovers in that game. There's been other games this year where they've had 10, 11, 12 penalties. They're prone to turn the ball over. They're just an undisciplined team. I think because of the better coaching on the Notre Dame side, in addition to it being at home, I just think Notre Dame finds a way to win the game. I think it's another fairly close one. I do think they cover 31-24 Notre Dame. Let me know in the comments, what's your score prediction for this game? Do you think Notre Dame will blow USC out? Do you think I'm giving USC too much credit here? What do you think? Do you think USC has a chance to pull the upset here? I appreciate you tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe. And until next time.